Good evening. I'm Danny Turner, former mayor of the city of Martinsville, and it's indeed a pleasure to be here at the Fieldcrest clubhouse as all the former employees of Fieldcrest is here having a reunion, and it's so great. I've met so many people that friends and met and made friends, and one of the couple things I wanted to speak about is the significance of this very property right here. This property. At the start of the Revolutionary War was owned by Colonel Waller, George Waller. It was called Waller's Ford. He was married to Patrick Henry's first cousin. His job was to train the Virginia militia. And as we know that the war effort up north had got to a stalemate, and Cornwallis decided to bring the troops home, and he'd win the war in the South. But the people of Appalachia and the Blue Ridge Mountains had a different idea, and when they engaged them at Gilbert Courthouse at crossing the Dan, the Virginia militia was there along with the Continental Army, and like I said, that army was trained right here. One of the big saviors of the war was Joseph Martin, who the city of Martinsville is named after. General Joseph Martin was the Indian agent. He was able to keep the Indians out of the war. And so the war had gone on for 5 years, and when we got to Southside Virginia, Southwest Virginia, and they engaged with the Virginia forces in a number of battles. They fought with Nathaniel Greene all the way to Yorktown, and the war was won. And it was won in Southside Virginia, northern North Carolina. So we're very, very proud of our existence in the Revolutionary War and the impact that Virginians made both in ending the war and starting this country. So I'm very pleased that this area has been preserved, and very pleased that the Fieldcrest Lodge is here. Now jump to 1920, and the Marshall Fields Corporation needed a place to build a factory. They built the town of Fieldale, and when this place first opened, Prohibition was in effect, and so it can be said that in these hills around this lodge here that they were working on liquid renewable fuels, and it was done in a copper pot. So we'd once again very thankful that the guys from Fieldale are here, and we want to interview a few of them. So at this time I'll introduce Joey Arrington to you. He's bought this place and owned it for many years, and we're trying to bring it back and make this part of the 250th celebration of this country, and especially the 5 years from now we'll be celebrating victory in the Revolutionary War.
We here at the Fieldcrest Lodge are tickled to death to have the backbone, the folks that made Fieldcrest Meals in Fieldale, Virginia, a real spot here in Henry County, and they're all here this weekend for a class reunion of some of the old employees of the factory, and they've just I hope they've had a good time, and they're here to hopefully they do this every 2 or 3 years now and get together and trade lies and talk about the good old days, and then go from there to whatever else they choose to do. But anyway, I'd like to invite them in here. They got a few tales they're going to tell some folks and on themselves, probably, I hope, and we'll just see what they have to say here in a few minutes.
This towel was made in Fieldale, Virginia. It's about 50 years old. This towel has traveled with me from Eden, North Carolina, to Manhattan, back to Texas, and back to Virginia. But the towel itself, it was made from yarn, from fiber to yarn, warping, slashing, weaving, cut and sew. And this is royal velvet, which was the gold standard for towels in the whole industry, still is today. This was made totally in Fieldale, Virginia, and the people who made this were proud to be able to point out the quality features on this. And if you can, this bottom down here, you can see the label in there, Bartax label.
Right.
You don't see that anymore. End hem, you don't see that anymore. Chain with lock stitch and side selvages, you don't see that anymore. 50-year-old towel, traveled with me all over the country, still serviceable, but I thought it needed a home, and it has found a home right here at the Fieldcrest Lodge.
So, I was a manufacturing manager that came up in 1989, and my job was to work with the people here at the plant and change out the old looms here. There were 857 of them. We replaced the production from these 857 1950 model looms to brand new rapier looms that you see in the picture over here. 206. 858 to 206, same amount of production. Incredible. Kept the plant running through that time all the way up to 2003. Greatest weavers in the world. I've traveled all over the world in every terry plant that's on planet Earth, and the greatest weavers were right here in Fieldcrest, Virginia.
I'm going to start by reiterating that I was with Alan here from 1990 until 1999, and I had the opportunity to serve as a gray mill plant manager, and then from 96 until 1999 as the vice president of operations. It was the greatest time of my life. Honestly, it was. And I've got a couple of artifacts that we presented to Joey last night, and I wanted to show you those. So the first one, this was taken around 1996 or 7. This is a picture of the lodge after a snowstorm.
Right.
And this was also after a JCPenney customer meeting. So one of our guys came out and he took a picture of the lodge. This has been hanging on my wall for 25 years. Tonight, I'm handing it off to Joey, and it's going to hang on the wall for the lodge for as long as this place is standing. So that's one artifact.
Okay.
So the second artifact is going to go back home with me. But this is the outside the lodge, and this is Mr. F.W. Buck Dumaine, who was the sponsor of Fieldcrest Mills. It started in the 50s. I think there's going to be some historians that will talk about the history of Fieldcrest. But this is Mr. Dumaine. In his elder years, he would bring his dogs up to the plant, and we would all come up here and have lunch with him. And he would implore us to have a drink with him. And we would say, Mr. Dumaine, we can't have a drink. We're on the job. And he said, well, I'm going to fire you now. You don't have a job. So you can have a drink with us. And we always had to remind him to rehire us before we went back to work.
How about the lodge? How much does the lodge play into everything?
So the lodge, it's really kind of hard to verbalize how much the lodge has meant to all of us over the years. It was the shining star in retail. If you were a retail buyer for anybody, Macy's, Penny's, anybody, that you got to come to the lodge, it meant that you were being treated like royalty. And like Alan was talking about, the folks that worked in the factory, the people that worked in the lodge, and our salespeople, one of who's here tonight, they will reiterate that this was the crown in the jewel of Fieldcrest. And this is some folks that worked in. You'll recognize me and you'll recognize Alan and Buck and his dogs. So I made the mistake here at this table one time at lunch. The dog came over and I shooed him away. And Buck says, don't you shoo my dog away. And I said, yes, sir, Mr. Dumaine. Can I get him anything? But this one's going back home with me.
Yeah.
But the really special item is for decades. There was a humidor that sat on that piano out there. And it had a brass plate that said Fieldcrest Lodge. And somehow or another in the transition, that humidor got lost. But that humidor on the side was wore out as people over the years came and lifted that up to grab a cigar with a cocktail on the porch after an important business meeting. So this is my personal humidor. I've added the Fieldcrest Lodge sticker to it, and I'm presenting it to Joey to sit on that piano out there in perpetuity. And it is filled with the finest cigars in the world. So that's my story.
I love it.
Thank you.
I'm Teresa Riley, and I actually was one of the salespeople who had the honor and privilege to work with this team and these people at the Fieldcrest facility. And honestly, from a retailer's side, this was the crown jewel for any retailer to visit the mill, to come and stay at the lodge. And the heart and soul of that was all the people and how committed everybody was. And we couldn't do a thing without them. I mean, they meant the world to us achieving what this company was able to do, and the love and pride they took. And when we brought customers here, all the retailers were competitive. It was such a badge of honor to say, oh, I got to stay at the Fieldcrest Lodge. And the stories still continue today. It's still such an honor and a privilege that everybody really speaks about. And I'll say one of the things that also went missing in the transition was a book that sat on that piano that every customer in the U.S. from the time this place was open wrote their names in it that they visited, and the competition in the industry was to run that mountain road and back up and put their times on it. And everyone would compete and come and look at that book and see how fast somebody else did. So the next time, somebody went out there and tried to compete. So you had Kmart competing against JCPenney, Macy's against Bloomingdale's. It was actually such a competition in our industry, and everyone takes so much pride in the fact that they honestly got to be a part of what this company was and these people were to all of us.
Thank you, T. Thank you.
Well done, Teresa.
The 870 machines
857
to 206. All right, who made the new machines? Where?
Pignone, Pignone. It was an Italian weaving company. So at that time, there were no looms manufactured in the United States. Those original 857 looms were made by Crompton and Knowles up in Maine. And that was where all of the textile industry machinery was located, up in the Northeast, and it was built there. These, do I have a wooden fly shuttle anywhere, Melvin, in here? But anyway, it was older technology, high seconds meaning off quality. Okay. Here, new Italian rapier looms, which is just the way the filling is inserted in the towel, okay? But these 206 ran so much faster than these that the 206 looms produced an equal amount of cloth, and I would argue that they actually, in reality, produced more cloth because this was 15% seconds. This was less than 5% seconds. So even though the yardage was the same, the total actual output that could be sold was much greater with these machines.
So how did you remove the old machines and put the new machines? I'm assuming those things were 1,000 pounds or?
Bolted to the floor and whatnot. We took them out one at a time. What Melvin and I would do is we would start up a row of these new machines. We would take out the old machines to make room for more of the new ones. Keep in mind, we did this while the business was running. We had customers, as you met Teresa over there, she represented the customers. We had to fulfill orders during this time. So the pressure on us was immense. And this was about an $85 million capital allocation, which was the largest ever in Fieldcrest mills. So the pressure was so intense. Number one, to be successful, keep in mind these were unproven, as I was told by many of the employees. Royal Velvet will never run successfully on these looms. Well, the doubters were all wrong. We proved them right, and once we took our weavers, took our technicians, and retrained them on the new looms, they loved them. Once they understood them.
Now,
Hey,
and
Charles.
Yeah.
What Alan failed to mention is that we burned quite a few of those looms up
Actually,
We
what I
burned
failed to
them.
mention is Melvin burned.
Burned
quite
them
a
up.
few of them.
That's how we took them out. We burned them
It
up.
wasn't easy, was it?
No, it wasn't.
What an honor to have all these people up here, right, Joey?
It's great. I mean, it's eye opener for me. I had no idea. And one of the questions I got, and I'm not, it may have been before. I know it was before my time. You know, I was told, and somewhere along the line we had a document that said Mary Martin
Yes.
and Randolph Scott,
Randolph Scott.
and I don't know whoever were spokespeople for Fieldcrest. Is that?
It was Christy
Who was it, Don? Chrissy Brinkley.
Christy Brinkley. And the 40th year celebration for Royal Velvet, when Royal Velvet turned 40. Royal Velvet, as Don mentioned, the most desired name in the retail market, was born here in Fieldale in 1954. So its 40th anniversary was 1994. The company hired Christy Brinkley, who was a Sports Illustrated model, to model the Royal Velvet towel in New York. So we all went to New York to meet Christy Brinkley, which was quite an honor.
Was she hot?
Big time.